Are you cute? Do you want to be? How about a good negotiator or diplomat? If you answered yes to one or all of those, then you should play a Brennari on your next playthrough in Starfinder. Hello everyone, welcome to the Maple Table. My name's Nathaniel. This is a channel where we discuss role-playing games, so if that's something you're interested in, love to have you hit that subscribe button. The Brennari are essentially otters in space. They have a close resemblance to the otters that would be found on the human world of Earth. However, they do have a little bit longer legs, just a little bit. But that doesn't make them any less adorable. I mean, who wouldn't hit that? The Brennari can be found on page 8 of the Alien Archives 3. The Brennari come from a planet Varturin in the near space. It is a planet, unsurprisingly, covered in waterways. When the Brennari took to space, they were one of the first races before the gap to discover space travel. And while they were flying out and about in space, they came across many other races and discovered that they were very shrewd negotiators and diplomats. One of the things that made them so good at this was the Brennari are naturally in tune to others' emotions. And it's this empathic nature that makes them so good at this, even when dealing with another aggressive species. And it's because of their diplomatic nature that they have been welcomed to Absalom Station and to the Pact Worlds at large. Now, Varturin is a planet that is mostly wet. I mentioned that it is a planet of waterways, but the vast majority of the planet is actually covered in water. The rivers and the oceans of this planet will fluctuate greatly depending on what its two moons are doing. The two moons are called Artinos and Ridden, and it's their powerful gravity that can actually cause the water in some places on this planet to rise more than 100 feet in every 6 hours or so. This planet has large amounts of swampland, seas of quicksand, and aquatic forests, not to mention a few other micro-ecosystems. Oh yeah, it's basically always lightly raining on this planet, which makes this a perfect place for the Brennari to live. Now, as I mentioned, the Brennari tend to be very successful diplomats. One other hallmark of the Brennari is when they do negotiations, there's usually two of them. Even in cases when you would only have normally one person representing your nation or company or whatever it may be, the Brennari typically will do it with two. One of the reasons for traveling in pairs. If you're away from home for too long, most people tend to feel a little homesick. Because the Brennari are so emotionally sensitive and attuned to the emotions of not only themselves but others, when they're away from their home planet for too long, the Brennari will fall into almost like a state of depression. They will get severe anxiety and melancholy. So having somebody there with you tends to help ease that burden. One other thing that's very interesting about the Brennari, when they are traveling, they will almost always have some sort of a token or a bauble, some item that has some significance to them, and it actually allows them to feel comfort. It's kind of like a security blanket, except it's not a blanket, it's an item. Some Brennari will even keep multiple items, just for the comfort of having them. Sometimes it will be a reminder of a loved one or a childhood friend that they had, and depending on what they need in that moment, they will grab that particular item and use it for comfort. While most Brennari tend to be diplomats, not all of them will follow in these footsteps. If the Brennari has decided to go against the grain, as it were, they will follow a profession that gives them a great sense of joy. And it will also happen because they will have met someone who has an extreme passion for what they're doing. And because the Brennari are so emotionally engaged, when they meet someone who has a very intense passion for what they do, usually that will rub off on them, and then they too will also want to pursue whatever that is. The last thing I want to talk about before we get into their stats. The Brennari have also learned to create a stone. They call this the Brennari stone in all creative fashion. Most Brennari know how to do this. It is a magical item, but it does have some psychological effects that help the Brennari who uses it. Most Brennari will also have this stone as a favored item. Mechanically, the way that this will work is you get the effect of the stone and your favorite item bonus, which I will talk about in just a moment. As a Brennari, you will gain a +2 to your constitution, a +2 to your charisma, and a -2 to intelligence. You'll also get a respectable 4 hit points. And if I wasn't stressing this enough throughout the entirety of this video, You will also find that the Brennari will gain a +2 to their diplomacy and sense motive checks. They also have dark vision with a range of 60 feet, as does most things. This next trait is actually really interesting. As I mentioned earlier in the video about the Brennari having a favored object, and it being kind of like a security blanket for them, except it's not a blanket, it's an item. When a Brennari spends a resolve point and takes a short rest to recover their stamina, they can focus their attention and their emotions into their object, and while they're resting, they can regain a number of hit points equal to half their level. They can also hold their breath a really long time, and they're fast swimmers. Ultimately, the Brennari are cute, anxious diplomats who just want to help. On the screen now, you will find a playlist of other Starfinder races I have covered. Please check them out. You will also see that YouTube has selected a video for you here. If you enjoyed today's video, please hit that like button, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. My name's Nathaniel. You've been watching The Maple Table. Thanks for stopping by, everyone.